Hey there, Social Security warriors. Breaking news today as Congress is locked in a heated battle over a potential $2,800 increase to Social Security benefits that could change the financial future for millions of Americans. Are you one of the millions of beneficiaries who could see your monthly checks grow substantially? Could this be the largest boost to payments in decades? Stay with me to find out exactly what's happening on Capitol Hill right now. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss critical updates that could affect your benefits and financial security. The fight over increasing Social Security payments has reached a boiling point in Congress this week, with lawmakers on both sides of the aisle presenting radically different visions for the future of this vital program. Sources close to the negotiations have revealed that the proposed increase could amount to approximately $2,800 annually for the average recipient, translating to around $233 extra in monthly payments. This isn't just another minor adjustment, this represents one of the most significant proposed increases in decades, coming at a time when inflation has eroded the purchasing power of millions of seniors and disabled Americans relying on these benefits. What's driving this sudden push for such a substantial increase? The answer lies in the persistent inflation that continues to outpace the standard cost of living adjustments, COLAs, that Social Security recipients have received in recent years. Many beneficiaries have shared heartbreaking stories about having to choose between medication and groceries, with their benefits simply not stretching far enough to cover basic necessities. Does Congress finally understand the true financial strain facing those dependent on Social Security? The growing bipartisan recognition of this crisis has forced lawmakers to consider more dramatic action than the typical annual adjustments. The current proposal includes major changes to how payments would be calculated for SSI, SSDI, and traditional Social Security recipients. Under the new formula being debated, benefits would be tied more directly to actual costs faced by seniors and disabled Americans, rather than the broader inflation metrics currently used. Did you know that the current COLA calculation doesn't adequately account for healthcare costs, which typically rise faster than general inflation? This new approach could finally address this long-standing issue that has gradually diminished the real value of benefits over time. Progressive lawmakers are pushing for even more substantial increases, arguing that decades of insufficient adjustments have left millions of Americans in poverty despite having worked and contributed to the system their entire lives. They point to statistics showing that nearly 40% of Social Security recipients rely on their benefits for more than 90% of their income. How can anyone survive on benefits that haven't kept pace with the true cost of living? This question has become central to the debate, with advocates demanding immediate action rather than incremental changes. Meanwhile, fiscal conservatives in Congress have expressed concerns about the long-term sustainability of the program if such significant increases are implemented. They argue that without corresponding changes to funding mechanisms, the Social Security Trust Fund could face even earlier depletion dates. The Congressional Budget Office has suggested that the current path could see the fund exhausted by the early 2030s. What would happen to millions of Americans if the program became unable to pay full benefits? This potential crisis looms large over the current negotiations. The proposed $2,800 increase would be implemented gradually over a 2-year period, with the first installment potentially arriving as early as January if the legislation passes both chambers. For someone currently receiving the average monthly benefit of approximately $1,800, this would eventually bring their payment to around $2,033 per month. Consider how this extra money could impact your budget: an additional car payment, breathing room for utilities, or perhaps the ability to afford better healthcare options. For those struggling on fixed incomes, this represents a potential lifeline. Behind closed doors, sources report that lawmakers are also discussing changes to the taxation of Social Security benefits as part of this package. Currently, beneficiaries with combined incomes exceeding certain thresholds may have up to 85% of their benefits subject to federal income tax. The new proposal could raise these thresholds significantly, effectively giving recipients a tax break alongside the direct benefit increase. Would this double benefit finally provide the financial relief that millions have been desperately seeking? The potential impact could be transformative for many households. The debate has taken on additional urgency as recent economic reports show that seniors and disabled Americans have been disproportionately affected by inflation in essential categories like food, housing, and healthcare. A recent analysis from the Senior Citizens League found that Social Security benefits have lost nearly 36% of their purchasing power since 2000, despite regular COLA adjustments. Can you imagine trying to make ends meet with a third less effective income than you had 2 decades ago? This stark reality has finally captured the attention of lawmakers from both parties. Advocacy groups have mobilized unprecedented grassroots campaigns, flooding congressional offices with calls, emails, and personal stories about the impact of insufficient benefits. The AARP has thrown its considerable influence behind the push for more substantial increases, arguing that anything less would constitute a failure to honor America's commitment to its seniors and most vulnerable citizens. Have you reached out to your representatives to share how Social Security impacts your life? These personal stories have proven increasingly influential in shaping the debate. The legislative battle has also highlighted fundamental differences in how lawmakers view the program's future. Some are proposing expanding the payroll tax cap, which currently limits Social Security taxes to the first $160,200 of income. Others advocate for allowing the Social Security Administration to invest a portion of the trust fund in higher-yielding assets rather than solely in government securities. Which approach would best secure the long-term viability of the program while providing adequate benefits? This question has sparked intense economic and philosophical debates among policy experts. For SSDI recipients, the proposed changes could be particularly significant. The current system has been criticized for providing benefits that fall well below the poverty line for many disabled Americans unable to work. The average SSDI payment currently hovers around $1,483 monthly, barely enough to cover basic housing in many parts of the country. The proposed increase could bring this closer to $1,716, potentially making the difference between housing insecurity and stable living arrangements for millions of vulnerable Americans. SSI recipients, who currently face some of the strictest income and asset limits in any federal program, may see additional reforms beyond the payment increase. Congress is considering updating the outdated resource limits that have remained virtually unchanged since the 1980s. Can you believe that SSI recipients are still limited to having no more than $2,000 in savings, $3,000 for couples, before losing benefits? This antiquated policy has effectively trapped many in perpetual poverty, unable to save for emergencies or improved living conditions. The timeline for congressional action remains uncertain, with competing priorities and the approaching holiday recess creating pressure for resolution before year's end. Committee hearings scheduled for next week will likely provide more clarity on the specific provisions that could make it into the final legislation. The Social Security Administration has indicated that it would need approximately 60 days to implement any major changes to payment structures, making the window for action increasingly narrow if increases are to begin in early 2025. What can you do right now to prepare for potential changes and stay informed? First, ensure that your contact information is updated with the Social Security Administration through your My Social Security account. Second, connect with advocacy groups that provide regular updates on legislative developments. And finally, continue to follow this channel for the most up-to-date information as this situation develops. I'm committed to bringing you the facts without political spin, focusing solely on how these changes could impact your financial future. Remember to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and share this video with friends and family members who rely on Social Security benefits. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to navigating these potential changes. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next update as this crucial fight continues in Washington. Stay informed, stay engaged, and remember your voice matters in this debate.